Hello, welcome to Duncan Egg Bricks and to part 44 of my Hogwarts MOC series. Today we're going to be continuing on with the Chamber of Secrets build as we add on to what we did in the last instalment and add the main antechamber, including the large door to the chamber itself. So obviously this is not what we're working on today. This was the previous video. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. And what we'll be doing today is going to continue on from this. So obviously the bathroom goes just above here. We have the slide that comes down, which I demonstrated last time. And then we're going to enter the antechamber part of the Chamber of Secrets. Now this is the part where Ron, Harry and Lockhart have their sort of mini, well, it's not really a duel, is it? Lockhart casts his fatal reversing spell that rebounds on him. I should point out it's not actually fatal, but it's his fatal flaw that he does that. It's the place where the big rock fall happens that separates Harry and Ron. Now, I'm not actually going to portray that in full because I don't quite have the space to do it justice, and I want to be able to see into this a little bit better. So we're just going to have an open space. I'm going to have some nods to that though, with some little bits of rock sticking up around and about. And what I'll probably do is have a scene with Ron and Lockhart in this part, and then have Harry in the main chamber. So this has been inspired by the door for the Chamber of Secrets that came in the Hogwarts Chamber of Secrets set, which I previously reviewed. I've taken that and then made a few changes to it and added a few of my own ideas as well as some inspiration that I found online. And then the rest of the room is really just made up of, bits and pieces of rock face, trying to look a bit dingy and dark. And there's also what I think is some quite nice part usage, with some parts which I didn't think I was going to be able to actually reuse in my Hogwarts, used in a very different way. So I'm interested to see how those turn out. Right, we will get on and make a start with the building, starting, of course, as is most sensible, with the very base. Thankfully this time the base is a little bit simpler. We're now away from the rock face, so there isn't actually an external wall on this apart from the bit at the edge, which is kind of the cutout that we can see through from the back. So we don't need to add any water or anything like that. We don't really need to add any big ugly rock pieces, although I have got one of the smaller ones just as interior detail. And that means we can start with a 16 by 16 plate, which makes things nice and strong, nice and simple. Incidentally, this is going to be directly underneath the central tower, which itself uses a couple of 16 by 16 plates for the main structure of the lower floors. So everything is going to be kept very simple there and make it nice and strong. Hopefully we need a good support for that tower because it's quite tall. So I will go ahead and start adding the first layer of bricks to this so we can see the outline and you can get a general idea of where I'm going with it. Here's that first layer in place, pretty much just one piece tall, basically just the one that's attached onto the bottom plate. I have added an extra slope just there just because it's needed. Here is that nice part usage I was talking about, or one of them at least. So these parts here, which I think are really kind of originally drill pieces or something like that, they have been used on quite a lot of the more recent sets for turrets, spires, I should say, rather, on Hogwarts roofs. Obviously in sand green, as most of the newer sets are from the 20th anniversary sets onwards. And because my castle uses dark bluish grey roofs for the most part, I didn't think I was going to be able to use it. But I have here, that is a stalagmite. And there is going to be another one later as a stalactite, which I've come up with an interesting way of attaching that. So here's the basic layout. From that side is where the slide is, and then this is the open side that we can see. There are some Technic pins there to connect it into the surrounding things. And then here, where those metallic grills are, that is the start of the door into the Chamber of Secrets itself. But before we go ahead and build that door, we're going to need to add a bit more of the walls around it. So I'm going to go ahead, make some decent progress so we've got something to actually attach that door to. But before I do that, there are a few more details to add into the floor, namely the bones of creatures that have been eaten by the basilisk. Now, Obviously, in the film, there are loads of them all over the place, and we don't have that many parts in Lego that will work properly. So I've just gone ahead and used some of the pieces actually from that Chamber of Secrets set. So there's a couple of small bones here. I'm going to put one over here, I think. Another one tucks up against there would look good. We've got one of these longer ones, which I don't really know what kind of creature this is supposed to have come from. Something very large has got down there, and I think we'll pop that a little bit more in the middle at an angle or something like that. And then I couldn't resist putting this in as well, which is it's a white frog technically, but I suppose it's a frog skeleton is what we're pretending it is. And I'll just pop that in the corner. I don't know if you really get the skeleton vibe from it, or if it just looks like a white frog that's chilling, but either way, it's a nice little detail. I'll leave the rest of this open for now so we can pose a scene there, and yeah, I'll go ahead and add some more layers of bricks. That's more like it. You can really see it starting to take shape. I've added a couple of layers of bricks on the wall over here, but I've really focused on this side, and this is the entranceway. This is the doorway. That's the main door is going to be hiding. So the door is going to be on the inside just here, and you can see these arches starting to come up. They will come up on this side as well, and that will hold everything up there. Yeah, I've really tried to keep this as circular as possible. Obviously, there isn't an alternative to these half, or I should say quarter circle arches, but these are pretty close, and they will get joined up at the top in a second there. Also important to show these bricks just here. If I get it to focus, you might notice that they're not actually at kind of regular brick levels. There are plates in between there, and that was done over a bit of trial and error, basically to get these studs on the outside in the correct spacing so that the hinges for the door could be fixed on and everything would seal up nicely. So I think it would be sensible to go ahead and build the door. Now, this is heavily inspired by the version in the Chamber of Secrets set, but in that set the door was this size and shape, so this is a 6x6 round plate, and while that looked okay, it did mean that the snakes, which are on top of it, were coming off slightly and didn't look quite as imposing. So what I've actually done is I've got two of these, which in turn make an 8x8 circle, so we can actually attach these behind and have a slightly bigger door. Now, I'm going to try and do some of this on camera, so we'll then need our tiles, and of course we have these curved quarter tiles in dark bluish grey, which will go around the outside, and I think this just looks a little bit more imposing overall. Also means the whole thing is 2 plates thick rather than just 1 plate, and I think that makes it makes it look more secure, because you know, this is the Chamber of Secrets after all. There are many levels of security. So there we go, that's the basis for the door. There's lots of details that need to be added on top of it, as well as the hinges that needed to be added on the wall of the main build itself. So I'm going to go ahead and do those now. And here's the door that I'm going to be much happier with. It's now 8x8, and you can see I've added some extra of those snakes on top. I've also got a little bit here to act as the hinge. Now, that's not going to go directly on the wall. We do need something to actually attach it, and that is this little mini build here. It's just based on a 2x4 plate, and if I've got my spacing all right, it will attach to these studs on the wall. So yeah, there we go. I actually made a slight change just for structural stability, and I added in a 1x3 plate going through there to hold that all together. So now this door should attach right there, and it should be able to open and close freely. So yeah, there we go, that's working really well. I'll just pop this out of the way. You can see that the door is shaping up really nicely, and I think now would actually be a good time to put some figs in there just to show you what's going on here. So we've got a Harry there, let's just move him over, Ron behind him, and obviously we need Lockhart to be in there as well. So yeah, there we go, that is looking pretty good. There is the door to the Chamber of Secrets with the 3 characters involved in there, and of course I've also got Ginny to go inside the chamber when we get to that. Right, okay, so that's the last kind of complicated bit of the build. I think the best thing for me to do right now would be to go ahead and finish off all the other details, and then I will show you the finished product. And there's the nearly finished product. So I've gone around and completed this side of the wall, so it's the same height as that, and also put the tiles across the top with some studs left for fixing the central tower on top. And as you can see, I have decorated it with some extra sand green unicorn horns acting as more stalactites. Speaking of which, the final detail to add is the big stalactite, using the same cone piece as that stalagmite down there. It's just fixed onto one of these modified bricks with the 4 studs on the side arranged like that. So that fits perfectly on like that, and in turn is fixed onto another brick with studs on the side, and that will go in there, and then that hangs down perfectly, and I think that looks really, really good. I'm so glad I was able to use those parts because, yeah, like I said, I wasn't going to be able to use them anywhere else. Right, so there we go. It's not a massively complicated build. Obviously, the door is the main focus of this, and I'm really happy with how that's turned out. It looks fairly circular from the back, and that will lead into the Chamber of Secrets itself. So, only one last thing to do, and that is to connect this up with the parts of the Chamber of Secrets I've already built just here, and also to put the central tower on top and make sure that everything works. Here are the 4 pieces we're going to connect together. This is today's, and we will then connect that onto last time, or the last build that we did last time. So that just connects with a Technic pin there, and that should all line up, all being well. Yep, that is lined up pretty nicely. I might add another Technic pin over on this side, but for the moment that looks pretty good. Let's just take a look down from a minifig's perspective, down through to the other side. So yeah, that looks pretty good. It's pretty seamless. You can obviously see the arch of the other side of this build, but it looks good. And yeah, that's that. So that's all joined up. Get it to focus. There we go. And on top of that, of course, we put the bathroom, as we did last time. And then on top of this bit, all being well, we will put the central tower, which is just here. So let's make sure it's orientated right. And then take out this Technic pin, and we'll be removing those connections. That should just sit perfectly on top. There we go. Nice and easy because of those 16 by 16 plates. But there we are. That is a, you know, pretty much for now completed section of the castle. And that's what it's going to look like from the outside, just tilting up to see the top of the central tower. And then, yeah, spin it all the way around to the back. And the lighting's not great because of everything on top. You can just make out the figs sitting inside there. So yeah, pretty happy with how that's turned out. One bit of the Chamber of Secrets to go, or one main bit I should say, because there is going to be a little bit extra that we're going to need to do afterwards. But there, I'm really happy with how that sort of cut-through look of Hogwarts is looking at the moment. And the central tower is actually pretty full. I'm going to try and put something in here, possibly the swamp that Fred and George create as a distraction for Umbridge, which I know it doesn't make a lot of sense because Umbridge's office will be just through there, but it seems like a good spot to do it. So yeah, pretty happy with how the Chamber of Secrets is shaping up. A time next time that we're doing a Hogwarts update to finish that off. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. If you did enjoy the video, then please give it a like down below, leave a comment, and I'll do my best to get back to you. Subscribe to the channel for more, and if you want to support me, there are some links in the description of the video showing you how you can do that. Till next time, have a good one.